Long ago, on the vast plains of China, a fierce battle unfolded between the Witch Clan and the Demon Clans. The Witch Clan had risen to defend their homeland against the destructive intentions of the Demon Clans. However, the Demon Clans were not to be underestimated, and they unleashed a forbidden technique that transformed 10 of their most powerful princes into fearsome phoenix birds, capable of annihilating all in their path. But the Demon Prince's rampage was not unopposed. A god from the Taoist world, known as Yi, intervened to stop them. A monumental battle ensued, with Yi facing off against the 10 Demon Princes one by one. Despite their ferocity and power, one by one, the Demon Princes were defeated, until only Prince Luya remained, standing defiantly as the sole surviving Demon Prince. When the fierce battle between Lord Yi and Prince Luya, with the latter gaining the upper hand. Just when things were looking bleak, a Taoist priest came to Lord Yi's aid. Together, they managed to defeat Prince Luya and transform the Demon Clan court into a heavenly court. However, Prince Luya couldn't be killed and vowed to reclaim the court from the humans. 500 years later, Prince Luya was still determined to get his hands on the court. After centuries of waiting, Prince Luya finally had a chance to reclaim the heavenly court. He encountered an old priest named Master Shihuan who was tasked with guarding the court. Despite his years of experience, Shihuan was caught off guard and suffered a fatal wound from Prince Luya's surprise attack. The power difference between the two was simply too great, and Prince Luya emerged victorious. Meanwhile, Shihuan's disciple, Li Changsu, was on a mission when he received news of his master's perilous state. Without hesitation, he raced back to the heavenly court to try and save his master. Changsu was a water god from the northeast who had attained immortality through Taoism. He realized that the distance to Shihuan's location was still too great to reach quickly. So, he used his Shikigami folding paper technique, which allowed him to activate a Shikigami paper he had previously prepared at Shihuan's location in case of an emergency. To his surprise, the Shikigami paper transformed into a doll that resembled him and could be controlled remotely. Changsu utilized the doll to buy some time for Prince Luya, while he made his way to Shihuan's location as quickly as possible. Despite being numerous, Changsu's Shikigami puppets were no match for Prince Luya's formidable skills. Nevertheless, they cleverly outwitted Prince Luya and were on the verge of saving Shihuan. But Prince Luya was not one to be easily defeated. He quickly realized their plan and destroyed the bridge, which was the only way out for Shihuan and Changsu's Shikigami doll. With little strength remaining, Shihuan summoned all his power and unleashed his ultimate technique, which aided Changsu's Shikigami dolls in attacking Prince Luya. After a long and difficult journey, Changsu finally arrived to meet Shihuan, but it was too late. Shihuan was dying, having suffered a fatal blow from Prince Luya, and had also exhausted all his energy in the fight. Changsu was devastated to see his master lying there, lifeless. To make matters worse, he realized that he was no match for Prince Luya, who was still out there causing chaos. Little did Changsu know, a powerful Taoist ancestor named Wang had witnessed Shihuan's death and decided to take action. Wang, who was now an immortal figure, rewound time back by 200 years so that Changsu could prevent the chaos that Prince Luya was about to unleash. With the successful rewinding of time, only Changsu remembered the events that had occurred 200 years in the future. He couldn't help but feel overjoyed to see Shihuan alive again, knowing the pain of loss that awaited him in the future. But he knew he couldn't reveal the truth to Shihuan or anyone else, as it would only cause confusion and chaos. Determined to prevent the chaos that Prince Luya would cause in the future, Changsu decided to keep his godly abilities hidden from Shihuan and pretend to be a junior student once again. He planned to search for more powerful Taoist techniques to ensure that he would be able to defeat Prince Luya when the time came. Before leaving, Shihuan entrusted a young girl named Ling-Er to Changsu, explaining that she would be his disciple. He asked Changsu to teach her the Taoist techniques necessary to fight against their enemies. The following day, Shihuan bid farewell to Changsu, informing him that he would be entering seclusion for the next few years. He asked Changsu to mentor Ling-Er in his absence, and to prepare her for the upcoming competition in the Du Xian sect in 10 years. Changsu was now responsible for training Ling-Er, a task that he took seriously. He knew that the competition in the Du Xian sect would be a crucial event, and he wanted to ensure that Ling-Er was well prepared for it. He spent countless hours teaching her various techniques, instilling in her the values of discipline and perseverance. As Ling-Er began to practice her Taoist skills, Changsu became her guide and explained the different levels of realms that exist in the Taoist world. He emphasized that to attain immortality as a Taoist, one must progress through several stages. Changsu started with the lowest level realm, known as qi refinement, or the realm of qi refinement. He explained that qi is the vital energy within a person's body that enables them to utilize various Taoist techniques. Ling Er would need to master the next 3 stages of this realm to achieve immortality. Changsu continued to elaborate on the different stages of immortality, revealing that there were 3 in total: the soul transformation realm, the void refinement realm, and the Taoist achievement realm. Ling Er was fascinated by this information and listened intently as Changsu explained the unique abilities associated with each realm. The soul transformation realm, for example, would allow her to soar high into the sky, while the void refinement realm would give her control over the 5 natural elements. However, reaching the final realm, the Taoist achievement realm, came with a perilous risk. Ling Er would face death by heavenly lightning. But if she could successfully endure the strike, she would be reborn as an immortal being, just like the revered Taoist masters. Changsu soon realized that his explanations were too complex for young Ling Er to fully comprehend. He decided to focus on practical training instead and spent the next 10 years guiding her. Over time, Ling Er grew into a beautiful teenager under Changsu's tutelage. One day, Changsu decided it was time to put her skills to the test and took her to participate in a competition organized by the Du Xian sect's Taoist elders, Elder Zhong Yu and Elder Go. The day of the competition arrived, and Elder Zhong Yu gathered all the participants at the main altar. With a stern expression, he explained the rules of the competition. There were 4 different locations, each with varying levels of difficulty. The students were free to choose which location to enter based on their abilities, but Elder Zhong Yu emphasized that the greater the difficulty, the greater the reward if they succeeded. One by one, the students entered the competition and began their exams. Ling Er chose the test site on the open sea and managed to complete it with ease, feeling confident about her abilities. However, there was another participant who caught everyone's attention. Xunya was a female student known for her exceptional skill in Taoist sword techniques. She was an idol among the disciples and had already conquered the most difficult test site in the poisonous forest with ease. Xunya was not the only outstanding student at the sect. Another male prodigy, Yuan Jing, was able to surpass even her incredible achievements. Interestingly, Yuan Jing was actually one of Xunya's own students. As word of their remarkable abilities spread, the entire sect was captivated by these 2 exceptional individuals. Meanwhile, Changsu had his own agenda. He wanted to keep his own powers hidden from the others, including the sect leader. He lurked in the background, watching the attention focused on Xunya and Yuan Jing, hoping to remain unnoticed. Unfortunately for Changsu, he was caught by one of the supervisors, Juju Bei. She had noticed him attempting to sneak into the exam venue and promptly forbade him from entering. Juju Bei was concerned that Changsu was not yet strong enough to compete and may not survive the rigorous exam. To make matters worse, Shi Huan had entrusted Changsu to Juju Bei's care, specifically asking her to keep him safe from harm. Despite being barred from the exam, Changsu had other plans. He was determined to find the medicinal plants he needed and escape from Juju Bei's watchful eye. In order to do so, he had to suppress his Tao power to avoid drawing attention to himself. Changsu didn't want anyone to discover that he had already achieved immortal status, which would undoubtedly cause a stir among the elders and Juju Bei. However, Juju Bei suddenly changed her mind and offered Changsu a chance to participate in the competition. She challenged him to defeat her within the time it took for an incense stick to burn. There was a catch though, Juju Bei would only use a single stick as a weapon. Changsu knew he had to take Juju Bei's offer and face her in battle. He did his best to hold back his true Tao power, not wanting to reveal his immortal status. Despite only dodging Juju Bei's attacks, Changsu managed to hold his ground and outlast her, earning his place in the competition. Changsu tricked Juju Bei by diverting her attention away from the burning incense sticks that marked the end of their match. With his quick thinking, Changsu was able to keep his true strength hidden and avoid any unwanted attention. Juju Bei and Changsu then made their way to the second test site on her flying jug. However, Juju Bei was still curious about how Changsu, who was supposedly only in the soul transformation realm, was able to keep up with her fighting techniques. She decided to examine his chi flow to determine his true level of strength. Changsu quickly came up with an excuse, claiming that he had a mysterious illness that made him convulse if he was touched by a woman. He put on a convincing act, and after some hesitation, Juju Bei believed him and abandoned her plan to check his chi flow. Changsu was greatly relieved that his secret had remained safe. If Juju Bei had discovered his true immortal status, the whole Taoist world would be thrown into chaos. Changsu's sudden ascension to immortality would be an unprecedented event, and everyone would be shocked to see such a young man achieve such a feat. Little did they know that Changsu was from the future. As Jujubei and Changsu continued their journey, they arrived at the second test site not too far from the first one. Little did they know, the first site was just a test portal created by Elder Zongyu to measure the students' strength. The real poison forest, where only 5 students including Changsu had the courage to venture, awaited them. Their adventure took an unexpected turn when General Yuan, a high-ranking officer from the Yaojin kingdom, arrived to accompany and guard Xunya, the kingdom's 6th daughter. Xunya had come to the poison forest to measure her Tao power, but the area was fraught with danger. She ordered General Yuan to keep his distance and watch from afar. The group led by Changsu finally reached the border of the poison forest. Jujubei, the wise guide, reminded them all to use a poison antidote talisman to counteract the toxic effects of the forest. But that's not all, she also handed each of them a red stone to signal for help in case of emergencies. However, there was a catch. They could only use it after 20 days had passed. If they could survive the poison forest without calling for help, they would move on to the next round. As they entered the poison forest, Changsu confided in Jujubei telepathically. He warned her to be cautious of General Yuan, whose movements he found suspicious. Changsu felt that there was something the general was trying to hide. As soon as Changsu and his fellow disciples entered the poison forest, they were immediately attacked by a pack of ferocious beasts. While Xunya and the others managed to hold their own, Changsu found himself somewhat relieved to see their strength. He began to consider going off on his own to search for a rare grass that only grew in the forest. Before long, Yuan Jing decided to divide the students into groups to increase their chances of finding the elusive fire heart grass. He paired up with Xunya, and Changsu seized the opportunity to go solo while the rest of the group searched for their own items. Meanwhile, Jujubei grew concerned about Changsu. She worried that he might not be able to fend off the beast in the poison forest alone, especially if his spiritual energy had dissipated. She had assumed that Changsu was still in the realm of soul transformation, which meant he might not have the strength to fight on his own. However, much to her surprise, Changsu had come prepared with an arsenal of talismans that exceeded her expectations. But Jujubei's concerns didn't end there. She made her way to the other student's location, accompanied by General Yuan, who rode alongside her on her flying jug. Changsu ventured through the forest and sensed an ominous presence looming in the air. He trusted his instincts and took action, spinning a delicate spider thread that could detect any movement. Suddenly, his spider sense tingled, confirming his suspicions that he was being targeted by a vicious assassin. He knew that he was not the only one at risk, as the hitman seemed to be after all the students competing in the deadly poison forest. Meanwhile, 2 brave students found themselves ambushed by a group of ruthless hitmen. Despite putting up a valiant fight, they were overwhelmed and eventually succumbed to the attackers' brute force. Jujubei immediately realized that the 2 red stones in her hand were broken, and she knew she had to act quickly. She urgently instructed General Yuan to check on Xunya, while she herself went to the location where the 2 disciples had been attacked earlier. As she arrived, Jujubei realized that it was a trap set up by the enemy to hinder her movements and prevent her from helping the other students. She was frustrated and upset, realizing she had fallen into the enemy's trap. Furthermore, she received another danger signal from Xunya, adding to her sense of urgency. As Changsu scanned the area, his eyes widened as he caught sight of the hitman. Without hesitation, he sprinted after the assassin, his heart pounding in his chest. As he closed in, Changsu realized that the hitman's power was on a whole different level. It was in the realm of Taoist achievement. This meant that the disciples in the poison forest who were only in the realm of soul refinement would have no chance against the hitman. But Changsu had an ace up his sleeve. He had become a god. With a confident smirk, he engaged the hitman in battle, easily dodging his attacks and landing powerful blows of his own. The hitman seemed surprised by Changsu's skill, underestimating him because he appeared to be only in the realm of soul transformation. As Xunya faced off against the hitmen in the poison forest, she quickly realized that they were far more powerful than she and Yuan Jing combined. The hitmen, with their Taoist achievements, attacked relentlessly in coordinated groups, overwhelming Xunya with their strength. She fought with all her might, but it seemed like an impossible battle to win. To her shock and disbelief, Xunya soon realized that General Yuan, a royal soldier whom she had trusted, was the one who had hired the hitmen to kill her. She couldn't comprehend why General Yuan, someone she had considered an ally, would betray her and seek to end her life. Juju Bei's intuition tingled as she tried to make sense of the situation. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. As she pondered the events that had unfolded, she realized that the trap that had ensnared her had appeared after she had separated from General Yuan. Her mind raced as she connected the dots, recalling Changsu's earlier suspicions about General Yuan's movements. With a sudden clarity, Juju Bei's suspicions were confirmed. She realized that the trap had been deliberately set to buy time, preventing General Yuan from having to face off against the formidable competition supervisor, who was a peak-level Taoist practitioner. Changsu's adrenaline was still coursing through his veins as he stood victorious over the defeated assassin. He quickly realized that the negative energy from the hitman could potentially affect the delicate balance of the poison forest, and he was determined to prevent any further harm. With a solemn expression, he focused his energy on purifying the hitman's spirit, praying to God for guidance. With his secret weapon, Changsu delved into the memories of the assassin, eager to uncover any clues that could shed light on the motive behind the attack. Changsu's heart pounded as he uncovered the truth behind the coup. He couldn't believe his eyes as he realized that General Yuan, whom he had once trusted, was the mastermind behind the treacherous plan. But what shocked him even more was the revelation that Yuan Jing had ordered the assassination of Xunya, the princess of Yaojin Kingdom. As Changsu looked around his surroundings, he couldn't believe his eyes. Xunya, a sudden arrival, had been teleported to his location thanks to the renowned great Taoist, Wang. Wang, who had the ability to see everything in the Taoist world, had entrusted Xunya to Changsu for protection. This turn of events left Changsu feeling panicked, as it meant that he would now become a target for Yuan Jing, General Yuan, and their men. Meanwhile, Ling Er was in the midst of a fierce battle to conquer the East Coast area. Along with other students, she faced off against a massive army of shrimp troops. Initially, Ling Er had been able to hold her own, showcasing her skills. However, as the shrimp troops pushed her back, she was eventually forced to use the poison potion that Changsu had given her in a desperate attempt to turn the tide of the battle. After using the potent poison potion, Ling Er was approached by a supervisor named Liu who was in awe of her rare find. He was amazed that even the renowned head of the Du Xian sect, known for their expertise in concocting poisons, did not possess such a potent potion like Ling Er's. Intrigued, Liu asked Ling Er if he could learn the recipe and recreate the potion. Ling Er hesitated, but eventually revealed that the potion was made by her senior, Li Changsu. Liu was even more impressed, realizing that Changsu must have a natural talent for potion making. What he didn't know was that Changsu was actually from the future, and was a revered water god. The scene shifted to a time before Xunya teleported to Changsu, where Yuan Jing was seen trying to defend Xunya from an attack by General Yuan. Yuan Jing was only pretending to lose the fight and was taken captive, where he then cleverly professed his love for Xunya, claiming that he had harbored feelings for her for 6 long years. However, Xunya refused his advances, stating that she wanted to focus on becoming stronger without any romantic distractions from her fellow students. Unbeknownst to Xunya, General Yuan eventually released Yuan Jing, who then turned on Xunya and threatened her with his weapon. Xunya was completely taken aback when she discovered that Yuan Jing was not only involved in General Yuan's rebellion but also wanted to eliminate her. Despite having rejected his advances, Yuan Jing claimed that he still desired Xunya's heart and intended to marry her to gain control over the military power of the Yaojin Kingdom. This revelation left Xunya confused and concerned, as Yuan Jing had no legitimate political interests in the kingdom. As Yuan Jing explained his twisted plan to Xunya, General Yuan joined forces with him to achieve his own goals of recapturing his homeland, which had been conquered by the Yaojin Kingdom. Yuan Jing's plan to marry Xunya and gain control over the military power of the kingdom was thwarted when Xunya rejected his love. Enraged by her refusal, Yuan Jing decided to eliminate Xunya to prevent his sinister scheme from being exposed. In a desperate bid to escape from Yuan Jing and General Yuan's clutches, Xunya used the teleportation talisman to flee, seeking refuge with the help of Taoist Wang. In the present, Changsu had to take drastic measures to protect Xunya from Yuan Jing and his accomplices. He whisked her away to a secret hiding place, hoping to avoid any further conflict. After waking up from her unconscious state, Xunya was amazed to discover that Changsu had rescued her from danger and tended to all her injuries. She couldn't help but admire his kindness and selflessness. However, Xunya also remembered the strange disease that afflicted Changsu, which caused him to have seizures when he came into contact with women. She asked him if his condition had been cured, but Changsu panicked and fled from the scene. Xunya was left wondering if Changsu was genuinely afraid of women, or if he simply did not want to get involved in her problems any further. Leaving Shunya behind in the safety of the cave, Changsu set out to search for the rare grass he needed. Using his spiritual energy, he scoured the surrounding area for any signs of the elusive plant. After a long and grueling search, Changsu finally stumbled upon the rare grass in a location not far from where he had left Shunya. Meanwhile, Shunya took the opportunity to study the map scroll that Changsu had left for her. The map provided a clear and safe path for her to follow, ensuring that she would not run into Yuan Jing and his men. Shunya couldn't help but feel drawn to Changsu as she began to see that he truly cared for her. But she quickly realized that she couldn't let her guard down and become complacent. She knew that she needed to repair her sword and get out of the dangerous poison forest as soon as possible. As she was leaving the cave, she was discovered by Yuan Jing, General Yuan, and their men. Meanwhile, Changsu had also stumbled upon the scene and was furious. He had meticulously prepared a route for Shunya to follow on the map, but she had not followed it because she did not know how to read a map. Changsu watched helplessly as Shunya was cornered by Yuan Jing, General Yuan, and their men. But he refused to let her fall into their hands. Through telepathy, he instructed her to lead the group towards the cliff, where a massive snake monster was lurking. Despite struggling to follow Changsu's directions, Shunya managed to lure her pursuers towards the cliff, where the monster attacked them ferociously. Meanwhile, Juju Bei was still trapped and trying to figure out a way to escape. Suddenly, she was surprised to see the two hitmen who had captured her fall unconscious from above. Juju Bei was initially hopeful that her master had come to her rescue, but her hopes were dashed when she realized that it was her mischievous fifth senior, Elder Wu, who had played a prank on her by imitating her master's voice. To her surprise, Master Shihuan had returned from exile and was concerned about Changsu's well-being. However, their reunion was cut short when Master Shihuan used a technique to extract the memories of the hitmen who had attacked them. To their shock, they discovered that the mastermind behind the attacks was General Yuan, who had been working alongside Yuan Jing. Shunya was desperate to escape from General Yuan's clutches. Changsu helped her to guide her safety. As she approached the cliff, a massive snake suddenly appeared and coiled itself around General Yuan, trapping him. Changsu seized the opportunity to urge Shunya to run and never look back. But little did she know that Changsu had a secret plan of his own. Changsu decided to face him alone. General Yuan underestimating Changsu's abilities because he assumed that he was still in the lower realm of soul transformation and could easily defeat him. General Yuan believed that he had already surpassed Changsu and his godlike powers, having reached the realm of elves. However, his confidence was short-lived when Changsu demonstrated only a fraction of his divine strength, leaving General Yuan in utter shock and unable to keep up. Even some of General Yuan's men tried to resist Changsu, but the general soon unleashed his ultimate attack in a desperate bid to turn the tide. But it was all in vain, as Changsu remained unfazed and ultimately emerged victorious. After the battle, Changsu showed his exceptional wisdom by using an amulet paper to cleanse the negative energy from the remains of General Yuan, an act that showcased his compassion even towards his enemies. Feeling that the coast was clear, Changsu set about collecting the poison grass that he had been coveting for so long. With great care and precision, he utilized a special technique to preserve the unique properties of the grass, ensuring that it would maintain its potency. Meanwhile, Shunya had managed to flee from General Yuan and his soldiers, but her luck was short-lived as Yuan Jing quickly caught up to her. Cornered and with no other options, Shunya found herself at Yuan Jing's mercy as he demanded her surrender. To Shunya's horror, Yuan Jing revealed his sinister plan to make her fall in love with him using a love worm. But despite his manipulative tactics, Shunya refused to submit to his advances, infuriating Yuan Jing to the point of wanting to end her life. In a brutal turn of events, Yuan Jing killed Shunya. Meanwhile, Changsu had arrived at the scene and witnessed the tragic end of Shunya. Determined to avenge her death, he engaged in a fierce battle with Yuan Jing, who had consumed a strength-boosting pill to increase his power. The two combatants, both skilled practitioners of the Yaojin royal sect's Taoist sword techniques, clashed ferociously. However, it was Shunya's death that gave Shunya the final surge of strength he needed to deliver a fatal blow to Yuan Jing's chest, thanks to Changsu's intervention that left Yuan Jing immobilized. Reflecting on the events that had transpired, Shunya came to regret the actions of Yuan Jing. Despite his seniority in the sect, Yuan Jing had been consumed by his desire for power and his misguided affections for Shunya. Exhausted and on the brink of collapse, Shunya was caught by Changsu just in time. Meanwhile, Juju Bei and her companions arrived at the site of Changsu's earlier battle with General Yuan. Upon inspection, they discovered that General Yuan's weapons had been completely destroyed and his body reduced to ashes. As they departed from the scene of the battle, Juju Bei and her companions remained unaware of Changsu's involvement in the destruction of General Yuan's weapons and his subsequent defeat. While searching elsewhere, they stumbled upon the charred corpse of Yuan Jing, convinced that his death had been caused by Shen Ye's sword technique. In a surprising turn of events, Elder Wu discovered a rare three-headed spider thread. Recognizing that only skilled individuals were able to see and use this thread, he deduced that a third party had been observing them and the students. Elder Wu and his companions were perplexed by the rare three-headed spider thread that they had stumbled upon, pondering who could possibly possess such a powerful weapon. Little did they know that the thread belonged to none other than Changsu, who they knew only as the Eastern Ocean water god from the future. As the first chapter of their adventure came to a close, the group remained unaware of the true identity and capabilities of Changsu. The moral lesson that we can learn from this donghua is to value time and make the most of it, persevere and work hard to achieve our goals, and overcome challenges with intelligence and wit instead of brute force.